the document for the contour project painting, you're going to have a little bit of history here on an artist who uses bright and bold colors and geometric and organic shapes. So you'll need to review that first. Then you're going to come to your project where you're going to learn what you're going to be doing. So for this project, you're going to trace the contour line of everyday objects, overlapping them to create new shapes with the outlines. Some objects that you could trace are a protractor, tape, glue bottle, and any other item that has negative and positive space. You should not allow two colors to touch when painting the shapes, and then you will submit your completed project. For this assignment, you're going to be picking something that you have handy to trace. So it could be something like tape. You could trace a pair of scissors. Whatever you want to trace, you're going to pick one item, and then you're going to continue to trace that across the paper. So if we're doing the scissors, we're going to need to make sure that we can hold on to those and keep them the same. And we're going to be doing the contour line. Contour line just means the outline of the shape. So try out a couple different items, see what works the best for you, what's going to be the easiest. You're going to need to fill in the page with these contour lines. So you're going to trace the object and overlap at least 5 times, probably more. So you'll just continue tracing until you've covered the whole page with that object's traced contour line. Now that I have all of my shapes drawn, I am going to use watercolor paints to fill in the spaces. If you don't have your watercolor paints, you can use other items such as markers, crayons, or colored pencils. Watercolor paints will work the best for this project though, so if you have those available, please try to use those. There's a couple ways you can do your watercolors. You can do a wet on wet, wet on dry method. Those are going to change the way that the watercolor reacts. So if you're going to do wet on wet, you will just take water, it's just plain water, and wet the space that you want to fill in. Remember that each space is only going to have one color. So I've dampened that section of my picture, and I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush, and then I'm going to pick up some of that pigment. And what will happen is when you come into this, you will see that the paint will spread. So anywhere it's been added water to and it's been wet, that wet paint will spread. Now if you want to do wet on dry, that just means that you take your paint and take a dry space and you're going to fill it in. So completely up to you which way you prefer to do it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fill in all these spaces, and you're going to make sure that no two colors that are the same touch, so you may need to mix paints or overlap. You want to keep in mind what happens with color whenever you do mix it. If you don't have a color wheel, look in the course and see what colors are on those color wheels. Remember that if you mix two complementary colors like red and green together, it's going to turn brown, same for orange and blue, and violet and yellow. So you want to think about what's going to happen when you mix those colors. This chart is from the dollar store, super cheap, something that might come in handy for you if you have a chance to go to the dollar store, because it does show you if you take red, you mix it to orange, you get red orange. So it'll tell you what the colors will turn into. But keep this handy so that you know what will happen when you mix those colors. And then you're just going to continue until you have filled in the entire piece. Okay, so our piece is finally done and it is dry. You can see that all of the spaces on here, including the background, are filled in. There are no white spaces or empty spaces on it. The colors that are next to each other are all different. In some cases, I layered the blue a little bit thicker so that it was a different color than the colors that were beside it. All of the lines are traced with a marker, and all of the shapes are consistent, and all of the contour lines are clear. Now I would take and scan this and submit it, or use the video option, or take a photograph with a digital device.